your team and the quality of your talent, if you get an A player versus a B, C player and versus like a D, F player, right? It is not a, it is not like 1.5x as productive. It is a 10x versus a negative 10. It's not even as, it's not zero, it's not just like, on the same side of the zero mark. One is actively destructive multiplicatively, and another is like multiplicatively like constructive.
Welcome back to the High Ticket AI Systems Podcast. Everyone, please welcome the one and only Mr. X, Wang X. How you doing today, my friend? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me, Jordan. I'm excited to have this conversation. I think it'll take us to wonderful, unexplored areas and places. We'll see. Low
Absolutely.
expectations, man.
love, love the energy off the bat, my man. Let's see. Before we dive into all the nitty gritty fun stuff, can you give us an overview of essentially what the company does and who you guys best serve?
Yeah, absolutely. So, real quick, like my career has been in D2C, e-commerce, email, and SMS marketing for about the last 15 years. So, spent my whole career in the field. And I started Essence of Email about 11 years ago. Again, we do the exact same thing. We are a full service email SMS marketing agency, and we focus primarily on D2C brands. And we've been doing that for the last 11 years. I think we've worked with over 450 brands at this point in some capacity. And we just like to stay in our lane and just keep getting better at what we're doing. So, in a nutshell.
Thanks for the overview. I love niching down for several reasons. One reason, like the overview that accumulate all the reasons is like the flywheel effect, right? If I speak with one industry repeatedly, I can now understand their problems really, really well. And if I understand their problems really, really well, I can build solutions to solve these specific problems. And then now when it comes to fulfillment or actually bettering my services, it's the same or more or less every single time so I can perfect it. And now I can get better case studies from my existing clients. And guess what? That leads me to get more freaking clients, right? So it literally is a flywheel effect from niching down, serving one avatar with having one primary core service. And just hats off to you for actually doing that because, bro, I can't tell you the number of times we get a full service agency on here and they're so proud to be full service. And I'm like, I really feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot. I really feel that way. But what has been your experience with that? Like, why did you decide to niche down? I know you spent your whole career in like email and SMS, but like, you could have veered off and did something else, man.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm just stubborn probably at the end of the day. Like that might be part of it. It's like, yeah, it's a conscious decision, but part of it is just the momentum, right? But yeah, to your point though, like honestly, like it's more interesting for me to be deep rather than wide, right? In the business sense. And for me, it's like I started my career here and I found it to be like on the surface level, it's kind of simple, right? You draft, design emails, you send it to people, people buy, some people don't buy, etc. Right? But you can get so deep into it, and I just like love uncovering all the hidden gems under the stones, and like love testing and challenging assumptions, and it's always changing too. Like in the decade that we've been running Essence of Email, like the whole landscape has changed. New products has come out. I mean, AI has come out, right? Like that's huge. Yeah, and to your point too, just not just only the expertise, but also just the ecosystem that gets built. I find that to be pretty rewarding. So at this point, like many of the software partners, agency partners, clients for that matter, like that network has just grown, and it's been cool to see what people have been doing. Maybe I met them when they were starting off in their current, enterprise or at a different company or whatnot, and now they're in a completely different place. And it's just been really cool to see, like, oh wow, like I was talking to you in the back room there, and now you're running $1 billion company. Like that's awesome. I wish that was me, but but still, like that's pretty amazing to see. And um, yeah, just like I think all those like side benefits of also just being in like your lane. Um, and yeah, like I honestly think it's very hard to get really good at one thing, and it's just exponentially harder to be good at multiple things, right? There's a reason why there's like one Leonardo da Vinci, the Renaissance man, right? Like it it's just very difficult to be world class at multiple things. And there are people who do it, but it's just fractional, like a fraction of a percentage point there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, like regression to the mean, like large data sets, right? Most friggin' people are not going to be masters at more than one thing, or some people will may never master anything, but that's like work ethic and things aside. But no, that is super cool, my man. I'm really happy that you did that. I do have a question. I'm sure the audience would find value from this, but honestly, for me, and a quick like context as to why I'm asking the question. So I live in Utah. It's gonna get cold here pretty soon, my friend. I used to live in Mexico for about 6 months a few years back, like 3 or 4 years back. It was the time of my life. I loved it. Everyone was happy. The sun was shining. I'm 2 walks or 2 minutes from the beach. It was great. And with winter coming up, I want to go to South, America again, whether that is Mexico or like Dominican Republic or like, I don't know, Colombia, just someplace where it's warm, escaping the freaking cold. The question I want to propose is how have you managed to balance working remotely for I think over a decade now, or at least for several years, and managing to be an entrepreneur, to wear your business hat and stay focused and manage a team and actually be productive while enjoying your time off and exploring new cities, exploring new countries. Like, how have you managed to balance that life?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. And just to give you a little bit more context, so people know that I'm not just making it all up. Yes, I've been remote for as long as the company's been running. We started off remote native, so this was back late 2013 when I kind of started it. So we've never had an office. We've always been remote. We've always hired globally. To this day, I have people in Europe, I have people in South America, in Africa, all over the globe, really. Um, and personally, one of the impetuses of jumping to doing my own thing was that well, literally, one of my best friends in college handed me a 4 hour work week by Tim Ferriss, which I'm sure your audience members are familiar with. And I read it and I was like, this is amazing. I didn't care at all about like just not working or working 4 hours. Like that didn't like interest me at all. But the part that I latched onto was, you mean I can run parallel like career and business alongside like location independence and like traveling and experiences that I really wanted to have. And that like was a light bulb moment. And I've like, I'm in my mid 30s now, but in my 20s, I was like a big driving force, right? Like wanted to see the world. I wanted to like go places. Um, what that resulted in is I've been to like 40 countries at this point. My life nowadays is a complete opposite. Now I'm just like routine, like staying in one place, all that, right? But I've had like a good run of several years where I was highly mobile. And that being said, there were stints of like, up to 3 months in a particular location, which helps. I think the challenge is real in that you want to like run your life and like the non-work stuff while not like short changing your career. And I think to me, I felt like I hit that balance for the most part. There are days where I just and you can do this in your 20s and it gets harder and harder later on, but like you just burn in midnight oil and you just like get it on a client call at 3 a.m. in the Philippines because that's whatever time in the US, and then you just bounce right up in an hour, see the sunset, and take off in a catamaran to on a day cruise. So I think part of it is just like you just push through the tiredness. But I think the other part of it is I felt like when push came to shove, especially because in some of these places I didn't spend that much time in. It was like a short stay. I felt like I prioritized correctly getting that experience versus like, oh, I'm just going to do one more task. And in that, because work is always going to be there, right? And work is always going to be there. It's infinite. It's nonstop. It like as old as humankind, forever after I'm dead. Like it's just a fact of life, right? Like work is always going to be there. And there is definitely a correlation between hard work, the amount of reps and sets and volume you put in, and ultimately what you get out of it. But it's also sort of diminishing returns, right? Like if you're currently producing whatever financial metric or whatever result you measure it by, and it's like, okay, if I put in an extra 5 hours a week, right, I get an incremental couple $1,000s a year, whatever it is. Is that incremental really worth you missing out on that like secret location cliff diving in Thailand that had, with the group of like other people that are your peers on that day particularly, right? Like, and a lot of times the trade-offs like, no, not really. Like, screw it. Like that, like I'll say goodbye to that money, but let me have the experience because that is like one of the things you bank.
No, I absolutely love what you're saying, my man, and I feel like it's something that I needed to hear. Like when you think about people who were, on their deathbed, they're passing away soon. They never say, "Oh, one of the things I wish I did more of is work." And and I saw this Instagram reel, and I might even ask you this question, but the interviewer asked the guest. He said, "Would you rather get rid of all of your current memories and make new ones, or would you never have the ability to make new memories ever again and keep your current ones?" And like, of course, the
Ooh,
guest thought about it. And I know what my answer is. And this correlates into making new memories and like having new experiences. But essentially, I would get rid of all my current memories and go out there and make new ones, right? Because if you're not making new memories, if you're not actually enjoying life, then what's the point of all this work? You know what I mean? Like you said, work is infinite. Work is endless. Work will always be there. And I always tell myself that, dude. I'm working like a dog, like a lot of hours. And I really, 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 really want to change because like it's sunny now and I live near beautiful mountains and there's so many lakes and like there's so many things to do. And I find myself just not like doing it, you know? And I don't necessarily have a legitimate reason to not do it besides I'd rather it work or like there's work that needs to get done.
Jordan, you know what it is at the end of
What's
the
up?
day?
What's up?
This is what most things are at the end of the day. It's fear.
Talk to me.
It all comes down to fear, like at the core of it.
So
It's I'm gonna leave you with that. I think you can derive
Wow,
from there.
we're
But
getting some
yeah.
therapy now for sure. Okay, okay.
I'm
Have
not
you?
immune to it too. I've definitely been on that side too. So like I'm this is pot calling the kettle black here. So but I my point is I relate to that, right? Like when we're in the grind mode, like there is very like you gotta work hard. Like there's no doubt about it. You gotta work hard. But at the same time, the way I view it is to a decent degree, it is a marathon and not necessarily a sprint. So, what is it that can keep me in the game at the highest like resting RPMs for the longest time frame, right? And to me, this was something even I mean, I violated a rule here or there, right? But even in like my periods earlier when I was really pushing the envelope, right? Um, I always tried to protect my weekends, which is something I know like in hustle culture, entrepreneurship, like people are like, no, you guys just gotta grind, like Saturdays, wake up, go to gym, grind, right? And for me, it's like, no, I need that space because I know myself enough that if for a prolonged several weeks or months, right, like where I don't do that, and for now it's probably just like 1 or 2 weekends if I have to work through it, right? Like that would just grind me down. That I just cannot get to my like average productivity levels. And it just throws me completely off. So it's like it's hard to turn off when you're in that mode. But sometimes you just have to force some structure there. Like you got like, especially if you're working for yourself, especially if you define your own schedule, that's actually quite dangerous and hard to manage. Because it's so easy for it to bleed in, the
I
work to
love
bleed into your life.
I love what you said about, optimal performance. This is so freaking weird, but I completely agree. When I work, every weekend for 2, 3 months in, like the next Monday, I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Like I have to stop doing this. You know what I mean? But like when there's when I actually have a productive Monday through Friday and I do anything but work Saturday and Sunday and I come back Monday, I'm like, dude, I'm like eager to work. Like I can actually focus and like get shit done. It's so weird how like our brain needs to create space for the task at hand. Because if it's the same task over and over, like the same project, which is the business over and over again, I feel like you miss certain things. You're just not as productive and optimal. I do kind of want to pivot because you brought up something that's like hard work is essential. Like if you want to be successful, make enough money to go out there and move and live the life that you want, you're going to have to work hard. On our initial call, you talked about scaling up to a 40-person company and realizing that this isn't actually what I wanted, scaled all the way back to roughly about 8 people, I think you said, and you were way more profitable, and the fulfillment of life, which is way more significant than any dollar amount, was actually way more dominant, way more prominent. Can you talk to us about that journey? Like how was hiring, how was scaling up, and then what led you to essentially scale back down?
Yeah, no, that's I think there's a lot to unpack there, and I think it's potentially interesting for your viewers. I hope so, at least. So so the story is that when I started a company, it was primarily driven by the desire for the lifestyle side, right? So, I was able to pick up a couple clients just by myself, kind of had one helper, and and because of the work that we did and the results that we were generating, we actually, and the fact that we were significantly undercharging. Let's be real here. Like we were undercharging, so the value equation was significantly against us, actually in favor of the clients, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. We got a lot of demand, so there was kind of like organic demand on growing, and because I was inexperienced, I kind of didn't have the reference point on how to grow the team properly and what is most effective. So essentially, and at that point, because our original model, as we are growing, we were outsourcing. We still outsource today, right? Like as I said, we have a global team. But I think I veered on the side of trying to get paying too little and trying to get the most talent, right? um, which in retrospect, that's one of the factors that kind of stacked into this sort of breaking point and ultimately scaling back. Um, because one of the key takeaways is that, first of all, you get what you pay for generally. Um, but what I didn't realize is that, especially in the game where I'm playing, which is basically a human talent input type of deal. So, like, it's human capital that goes into marketing agency output, right? Um, your team and the quality of your talent, if you get an A player versus a B, C player and versus like a D, F player, right? It is not a it is not like 1.5x as productive. It is a 10x versus a negative 10. It's not even this. It's not a zero. It's not just like, on the same side of the zero mark. One is actively destructive multiplicatively, and another is like multiplicatively like constructive.
Absolutely.
And the actual incremental difference that you're paying, maybe 1.5x, maybe double, you know. But you're like, the output that you're getting is just, and then you multiply that across headcount, and now you're like looking at 100x difference versus like negative 100, whatever. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get my point, right? So, um, on top of that, I felt like I was playing at the game of business on what I thought business should be and what a company should be, rather than being more self-aware on what our DNA is and what is needed and what is not needed. So I'll give you a concrete example of that. So for example, like I hired, like a marketing manager, a COO, like a HR, head of HR earlier, like this management layer, right? And that was when we had like 12 people or something, right? So eventually got to 40, but like, and I put like SOP on SOP on SOP, and then we had meetings about SOPs and SOPs about meetings and meetings about meetings and SOPs about SOPs. So anyways, just like a whole like whole like these systems that like in a multi-billion-dollar multinational company need to be in place, because like how else do you manage like 100,000 people in all departments? Like, but that's also built over years and built over like scale. I try to dump all that in on like, a dozen person company. And it was, yeah, looking back, I see you laughing, Jordan. And I laugh as well, because looking back, I'm like, man, that wasn't the smartest move, man. But, but we did it. And so and I tried to delegate like everything, like I read the management books, the EOS, and those are like not bad systems and stuff, but like our application of them was not good. So I think the viewpoint of talent, and obviously we also were able to recruit people who were very talented, and sometimes people who were very talented in the broken system, which really ground my gears there. But ultimately, like those mistakes, as we move forward and increase headcount, kind of all started, like the cracks all started forming, right? Because if you're scaling a system that's good, you have a possibility of it working out. You can still break things, but if you're scaling a system that's bad, like it's almost an inevitability that you're gonna like crash, crash and burn, right? Just like if you run an ads, a ad campaign that's like negative ROAS, and do you scale that? No, like it doesn't make sense. You're just gonna lose even more money faster, right? Like, even if even if it's positive and good ROAS, like you're gonna hit, like it's gonna get worse as you scale, right? Generally. So the metaphor kind of holds there, that like we scale on that, and then cracks form. There were fires all the time. Like client delivery, service delivery was like weakening. At the same time, our space, the competition started like picking up, because we were one of like the first movers, not the exact like first mover, but it was more of a blue ocean then, and it became a bit redder as we moved. So and then we had like well, actually COVID was probably net positive for everybody, but weren't in a position to fully take advantage of it just because of our structural problems. So yeah, so like, and then I kind of, at that point, I kind of almost like got burnt out. Like, not almost burnt out, I got burnt out, right? And I took a step back and like, you know what? Maybe one more management layer is gonna fix the problem. So yeah, smart, huh? Um, so I ended up hiring like a general manager. And to his credit, to this day, we still keep in touch. He's a very intelligent person, and but ultimately, and I took a step back from the company. So I took about a give or take like 18 month sabbatical, which is a whole other thing to unpack about what to do when all of a sudden you have this mini retirement. Hence, you get bored off of your, like, you get so freaking bored. But and I kind of was like,
Sleep in retirement. I think people need
yeah,
this. They need something.
like I was grasping at straws, man. So it's not like you think it's a dream, and it's like I just got bored. But anyways, so I kind of wanted to run that experiment and see, like, hey, like, like, was cash flow positive, like, let's see if this thing, where it takes it, right? Ultimately that didn't work out, which, granted, there were just structural problems, as I brought up, right? So there were a lot of things that had to be fixed, like fundamentally had to be fixed, that, you know, if you just incrementally fix it, it doesn't work. So basically things came to a head. What did I say? 18 months sabbatical. with the ramp up, probably about like 2 years, add a couple more. So I think it's ended up being like kind of a 4-year experiment inside of that. But it came to a existential moment for the business, where like, at that point we weren't exactly at 40. I think our headcount was like maybe slightly under 30 at that point. Client base was shrinking and revenue and the economics was just like very, it was a stressful time, right? Basically, the liabilities and the cash flow all not really moving in the right direction, and getting closer and closer to that like endpoint where you just had to pull the plug. So uh, I basically had to step back in, make some hard decisions, make a lot of cuts. And we had been incrementally cutting the team just for force of circumstance. But that last round was the deepest relative one and the hardest, because at that point, it like you can cut the fat from the bone, and that's like kind of easy because like, oh well, we're not gonna miss their contribution to the team. But when you are leaned out and you have to like cut all the lean meat from the bone, sorry vegetarians for this analogy, but that's where it's hard when you're like, okay, I actually have some A players here, but they don't contribute right now to the critical like functions in what we immediately need, and you have to kind of say goodbye to them and release them back into the marketplace. And you have to do that like I sat down and like it was like in I want to say 2 days, but I think it was like maybe a day and a half where I just sat down and just like just power through it with people. And I mean, it sucks to be on either side of the fence, right? Like, sucks to be laid off. It sucks to have to do it. Unless you're a psychopath and you don't care. I don't scores are so high on that, so like it was rough. It was rough. It was very emotionally tough thing to do at that scale. And of course, I'm still like I'm doing it at a small scale, right? I'm not. I didn't have to lay off like 10,000 people probably. But it was, and then I was like, shit. Like now that we made what was necessary, it was still an uphill battle. And basically, I was like, buckle in. Like this is gonna be a fist to fist fight to turn around things. And luckily we did. Like that's a happy ending. We did. We kind of refound our DNA. We got ruthless with our delivery, with our client selection, with like cost cutting on like software, for example. Like we had to like just go line by line. I would like get on the phone with Adobe Creative Cloud every like 3 months and say, hey, we're thinking about quitting. Can you give me a discount? Like that level of like detail, right? Um, and yeah, I think like had to roll up the sleeve and just get in there, get in the weeds. But the sun is brighter on the other side, and in that process, I think there's like a business improvement for sure, but also like a personal pathway of like learning certain things about yourself, both about your capacity to endure, but also what matters in terms of what you want, which incidentally is a shifting, moving target. That's the thing that you really have to keep in mind. What you wanted 2 years ago has now changed. And if you don't change your strategies, you're gonna potentially get what you wanted 2 years ago, but you're not gonna be happy about it because you don't want you actually don't want that thing anymore. In fact, sometimes you want the opposite by that time. So you were really successful in hitting your original goal, but you didn't calibrate again. So it ended up being like you're still unhappy. So that's one of like kind of perceptions that I had as I was going through. So yeah, where I sit today, I think kind of just realizing like what kind of work I really like to do, which is sort of like the in-depth analytical work with brands that like are not surface level, but also have like a deep team, and they have the volume and scale to actually like the work that we do have significant impact. But the challenges that they have is not a simple cookie cutter solutions, right? So it's like the work for me that excites me. At the same time, having surround yourself with your internal team and external client facing team that are just fantastic people to work with, like, and just top of their game, right? Um, and then structuring it so that, like like you alluded to, where the vanity number, the revenue's down, the profit's significantly up. We had like our most profitable year ever. Like, I was like, so like I get to work with people I like to work with. I get to do the work I love doing. I'm making more money and I'm happier. So like, but I can't tell people that I have a 40-person team anymore. So, okay, whatever. I'll trade
Right.
that all.
Well, you're what do I actually want? Do I want the status of having a, pretty, medium to
Yeah,
large company?
yeah,
Or actually be happy, make more profit, way less stress, like
yeah,
I think the
yeah,
latter on that one makes way more
yeah.
sense. And
I mean, honestly, there's no right answer, right? Like you have to discover your answer for yourself. Because like for some people, like Elon Musk would not be happy doing what I'm doing. Like he has to go all out, balls to the wall all the freaking time. Like I'm not sure I really vibe with the guy, but I definitely respect him as like a businessman and just as like an entrepreneur, right? Um,
sure, yeah,
but
it's hard.
so it's like how you're wired, right? And like what your motivations are, and like what actually is the definition of success that you will feel like integrated and proud of. And it matters the financial like targets as well, right? Like I can project out and like, yeah, I always want to add a zero to that target, but like as I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, if I remove my like ego from that a bit and remove like the comparison with other peers and such from that, like, do I need that extra zero? Is it increment, like how much more on my day-to-day happiness is that going to improve? And my
That part.
answer is single digit percentage at best and potentially be negative.
Yes.
So
No, 100%. If I really do add a 0, how much more
yeah,
or how much different does my life actually change? Like,
yeah,
I still
yeah,
do all the things that I wanna do now. I still have a pretty good time in life, like, generally speaking. Like, I still do what I want. I still have fun. Like, adding
yeah,
one more 0, like, I have
yeah,
another car or, like, I have another
yeah,
property. Like, I don't need
yeah.
all of that shit, you know?
But Jordan, let me tell you this, right? Depending on where you are in the curve, sometimes adding another zero or two is definitely the right answer. Like I'm not gonna be like all Pollyanna about this. Like if you're not at like a lifestyle stage, like if you're kind of lower on the ideal lifestyle stage that you want, right? Uh you could be on that curve that where you're not hitting diminishing returns, you're like exponentially big jump, like by adding some zeros. Like but then if you're kind of already at really good comfort levels, then you're getting very tiny improvements by like, yeah, by just adding.
Like,
So
thanks
let's
for the
be real
clar
about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it.
Like, all my combo, you wanna add as many zeros as possible. Once you get to that stage of, like, "I think I'm good right here," like you said, it's diminishing returns. I kinda wanna go back to what you said, and this is, like, more so personal development philosophy. We are constantly changing as humans, and I think that is the one thing constant in this world or in this life is change. My goal today is X, but in 2 years, my goals are gonna change into Y,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, and I think if our goal didn't change, then I don't think we as a person have grown, right? So it's kind of a good thing that our goal changed into Y or whatever the new thing is. And to circle back one more time, in order to find out what you truly want, in my opinion, I think you just have to do shit. Right? Like, you're not gonna know if you want a 40-person company until you go and build a 40-person company and realize, "I actually
I
don't want
know.
this shit." You know what I
Sometimes, yep. Sometimes nothing beats the school of hard knocks, right? Sometimes you just gotta throw yourself in there and be like, oh, I kind of like by process of elimination figure out what I don't want, and what's left is kind of what I want. So yeah, like there's no substitute for that. You know, you can think and analyze and philosophize all day, but if you're not in the game, if you're not getting your knuckles bloody in a metaphorical sense a little bit, like you're not really gonna find out, you know? So
Absolutely. I do wish we had more time, but I have time for one more question. Over the next 12 to 24 months, X, what is some of the company is looking forward to? Or on a personal note, what is something that you guys are looking forward to?
Yeah, so I think I'll answer on the business side and then on the personal side, right? So I think on the business side, what I'm really excited about is I know it's kind of cliche, oh, we're gonna go into AI, but I think like use of AI in a particular way, which is to systematize and go deep into a strategic intelligence layer that's completely proprietary and very customized to each of our client accounts. So no cookie cutter builds, but like basically to me, the technology has just opened up the floodgates on all of these like angles and tools and things I want to build to just like that I've always wanted to build has always been on a backlog, but now it's like becoming a really great reality. And I've already started realizing a lot of that. So I think to me is like less like a growth number and less of like a rev target, which is nice. We have some of those, but like more like if I can realize this vision of what I'm trying to build that's going to be this proprietary engine that we're not going to sell publicly because that's going to distract our focus, but purely for our client set and purely to make us even better at our craft through leveraging technology and bring our expertise to the table as well. So I know it's a little bit vague, but it's definitely something that's super exciting to me. On the personal side, honestly, I feel like my life is pretty optimized. Um, but I do want to give you context there. So this is interesting note to leave off on. But I am currently living in Ukraine, in Kyiv, in Ukraine, uh, and I plan to be here as long as humanly possible. And for everybody who knows anything, there's a war going on. There is the full scale invasion by the Russians in 2022. Can get my numbers right. And that has actually been going on for, well, before that in small scale. And so honestly, war is terrible overall for everybody involved. And I think on the personal side, it is a grind. I have no influence over the outcome, but the what I am looking forward to is eventual conclusion and you know, hopefully a peace for everybody, world peace, really, but more local peace at this point.
Right,
But I
right.
don't know. I don't know if I was a betting man, which side I'm going to throw the gauntlet on there because the world's a crazy place these days, and history's not on our side. Human beings have been killing each other since the dawn of time. But hopefully, we can all be on the better side of that divide soon. So yeah, that's
Absolutely.
a
No,
little not super jolly and smiley there. But yeah, honestly, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Is
it's real and authentic, my man, and that's what we want. X, thank you for all the insights. I generally had a really fucking good conversation with you, bro. I had some laughs, made some memories, learned some new things. Just want to say thank you again, my man. It was really fun.
yeah, it was my pleasure, and hopefully we fulfilled the promise at the beginning, explore new horizons.
Absolutely. Audience, talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.